So today we do have a very special guest, and that is Susie Hills. How are you?
I'm good, Nick. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great, thanks. Just ready to do this interview, and thank you so much for joining in. And your ethos is all about kindness, and we know that kindness is essential part of the world and how we communicate and we embrace each other and just trying to accept each other for who we are. And it's great to see you with all of the work that you're doing as well, and it is absolutely amazing how Kindfest 2020 is just going to be one of the greatest things and trying to make this world feel a tiny bit happier because it's quite a sad time, especially with all of the pain going through people at the moment. So it's great to see you trying to lift people up, and it is a true honor to be speaking with you today. So to start off this interview, could you tell us a bit about your journey and how it led you to be who you are today?
Hmm. Wow. Okay. I grew up in Devon, by the seaside, which is a very lucky place to kind of grow up, going to be able to go to the beach each day. And I went to an ordinary primary school, secondary school. I went off to university, and then I spent a bit of time working in charities.
Mm.
Um, and I ended up working in consultancy. And I guess one of the things that I learned all through all the things I've done is that some of the best people that I worked with were the kindest people. And that's the common threads that's kind of led me to do what I'm doing now.
Yeah, that's great, and it just helps you when you have people on your journey that just give that extra in
Mhm.
some way, and just they really push you forward and motivate you in the right direction. And that is great to see, especially with who you've become and how great you've been. And I know that you're very busy as well, so I'd like to thank you again for being on this call. So going off that, do you think there is enough kindness and equality being shown across globally, and now with media and social media, do you think there is enough kindness?
Mm. I think we urgently need more, don't we, Nick? I
Yeah.
think what we've learned in over really, and it's been highlighted through the pandemic, is that people desperately want to be kind to one another. They want to find ways to help each other. We saw that at the start with at the lockdown, people volunteering, hundreds of thousands of them volunteering to help out, people making PPE for the NHS, people Captain Tom walking around his garden and inspiring us all to help the NHS. And I think also we're all kind of rebelling against the toxic language and the hate on social media, and the bullying. And I think we all are starting to think actually this could be different. And we've seen that in, we've all been watching the US elections, haven't we? And thinking, gosh, is there going to be a change in the style of leadership on one of the largest countries on earth? And a kinder politician has won the US election and has actually spoken about the need for empathy and compassion. And we saw what Marcus Rashford has done with school meals, and he's
Yeah.
actually turned around and said, it's not good enough. We don't want kids to be hungry in this country. We've seen lots of campaigns against bullying and all the kind of good stuff you're doing and people like you do to just go, no, I don't want my world to be like this. So yeah, we urgently need more kindness, but I think what's amazing is there's loads of people actually doing extraordinary things themselves and
Mm.
mobilizing. And that's what I want Kindfest to be about, really about celebrating all these extraordinary people who are doing things,
Yeah.
to change the world in different ways, and hopefully inspire more people to do that, and so that anybody can decide to take action. Anyone can challenge bullying, anyone can challenge racism. All of us can stand up for what we feel is good and kind. And just the work that you do, you just have decided as a young person, I'm going to do this. Why not? Why shouldn't I do this? And I love that. And then that's why we wanted you to speak at Kindfest, because you've just taken action.
Oh, thank you.
How's that? Good. This is, we all need, and all I've done is kind of gone, yeah, I'm going to take some action as well. And I'm going to help create this crazy festival. but I'm just an ordinary person sat here in a room in Devon on a webcam. And that isn't the wonderful thing about the technology we have and social media and the internet, that we can do that. You can have your YouTube channel, you can talk about kindness. I can help set up a festival. Wow.
And I know, I suppose all we can do is try and just fight for what we believe in. And there's a quote that Gandhi said, and that's "Be the change you want to see in the world." And that is definitely amazing, because we all want different things, and maybe we should try and be that change that we want to see for the better of those around us and for ourselves as well. And that kind of brings me on to this another question, and it's kind of like a two-part question. So do you think that this world is heading in the right direction when it comes to equality and kindness? And do you think that there's been any change in, let's say, the past 20 years? Do you think that this world has got better within 20 years, or do you think it's got worse or the same?
Well, my humble opinion is that things have got better, but it's been bloody slow. Excuse my excuse my language. And I think for those of us, I think the Black Lives Matter movement has pointed out to those of us in positions of power and privilege that actually we didn't understand, and we quietly allowed something to happen in society that shouldn't have happened, and that we could have done something and we didn't. So whilst I do think the world is becoming more equal, it should have been faster. We shouldn't have situations where bullying and harassment is tolerated. We shouldn't have situations where people are discriminated against for the colour of their skin, for their sexuality, for the way they look, the way they talk, for anything. We should be better than this by now. And perhaps I think COVID has just shone a light on this in a different way, and that we're seeing the divisions and we can't ignore them anymore. So I think my generation haven't done as much as we should, but I think your generation aren't going to tolerate it.
Yeah.
I think young people now are not going to tolerate it. And they have a whole different viewpoint, about sexuality, about race. You guys are far more tolerant as a generation, and my generation should feel a bit ashamed that we didn't do more, maybe.
Don't feel that this world, people are saying that racism and homophobia should have ended hundreds of years ago, and it shouldn't have even started in the first place. And I really can't believe how someone could go out of their way to demean someone just because of the color of their skin or their beliefs. And especially now, and it's still going on, which really shocks me. It's just, I think it's how some people think, and it's just their mindset, and we have to try and change that. And hopefully my generation in the future should try and take action on that and finally end it once and for all, because I still can't believe it's going on. And no matter how hard we try, I sadly believe there's going to be at least one person or a group of people that will always be mean or horrible to someone else. So hopefully in the future it will get better for people around the world, because mental health can have a massive impact for the physical side of people as well, and they can harm themselves, and it's getting worse. And hopefully, just like you said, hopefully this will get better. And going off what you're doing right now, it's definitely heading in the right direction. And I really want to know, what would you say motivated you in your life? Was there like an occasion? Was there a group of people? Was there anyone that motivated you to do the work that you're doing today?
I think probably lots of people in different ways. I think I've always been inspired by the sort of people who listen to others. So I had an amazing teacher at school, my English teacher, Mr. Watts, and Mr. Watts listened to me, and he took seriously my opinions on things. He encouraged me to write things. And I think all of us have had people in our lives who've just taken a bit of extra time with us. My mum died a couple of years ago. She was an extraordinarily kind person. She always helped people. She went out of her way to do that. And I think I saw that when I was growing up, and saw that, you know, you should take the time to support one of the people. And now I'm really lucky, you know, through Kindfest, we've created this group of volunteers called Teamkind, and they're all amazing people. So I feel really inspired and uplifted that there are so many people who are willing to put others first, to listen, to challenge things and change things. So yeah, lots of inspiring people. And I also think you have to listen to what's in your own head and heart, and find your own personal inspiration too. You know, we all have something to add to this. And the question I always ask myself when I don't know what to do is, what's the kind thing to do? And actually, pretty much always, if you listen to the answer in your heart, you'll find the kind of right answer. You know, what's the kind thing to do right now in this situation, and that will sort of guide you, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And before you start helping other people, you have to be happy in yourself as well. And it's kind of that never-ending loop that keeps on inspiring people and pushing and motivating them in that right direction. And it's definitely it's working, and it's so great to see so many people turn their life upside down and go in the right direction and motivate themselves day in and day out and do the right thing. And as exactly what you said, if you ever don't know what the kind thing to do is, then just think about it for a while, because you're somewhere deep down in your heart, you know. And exactly what you said, 100% correct. Now, you know, I've spoken about what motivated you, and in life we have those, you know, those tough hurdles, and they kind of push us and motivate us even more. But if you had to say, what do you think's the biggest challenge you've had to face in your life?
Well, I have two sons, and my oldest son had really serious mental health problems. He was incredibly depressed, suicidal, anxious. And I think learning how to help him was the hardest thing that I learned, because I couldn't make it better like this. I couldn't find some paracetamol and give it to him and make his headache go away. And it wasn't easy. I couldn't tell him that it would all be all right, because for him it didn't feel like the world would be all right. And I think he taught me a lot about what kind of matters and how to help somebody. And ultimately, he really helped himself. He found some strength. But certainly, seeing someone you love feel really low, feeling so low they'd rather not be here, is really, really heartbreaking. And as a parent, you always want to just make things better. I'm sure your mum, who sounds like she's amazing, is always wanting to kind of help you and fix it and make it go away. But we can't. All we can do is love you and try to be there no matter what. And if that just means sitting with somebody when they're feeling utterly awful, so they know you care, then that's what you do. So that's probably the thing that was hardest, but I learned the most from. So I'm very grateful that I learned all from him, and I'm really grateful that he's feeling healthier and is able to manage his mental health now. But I know this is the biggest issue with young people today, is mental health problems, and we have to talk about it, and we have to learn to support each other, because it's a really difficult world, you know. And now we're getting, you know, in another lockdown, and for young people this is so hard. So yeah, we all have to really be concerned about young people's mental health.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose what some people feel like, they just want to be heard, and they want their voice to be heard and listened to. And I'm so glad he's doing much better now. But it's a shame that mental health's become such a common thing. And over lockdown, it's just got 100 times worse. And I think mainly a part of this is online, and there can be these very nice comments from people that can motivate you. But for some reason, those mean comments and those hurtful ones just hit more down deeper in your heart than the nice ones do, and they kind of override it, which shouldn't be the way that we think, but it just is. And it's horrible to see that people are going out of their way to hurt other people, and I just don't get it. I don't understand why anyone would ever do that. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? We've got Jimmy Wales coming to Kindfest, and Jimmy Wales is the founder of Wikipedia, and he's going to talk at Kindfest about how could you have a kinder internet? Because on the one hand, it's such a force for good. It can connect people together. People can support each other. They can talk about things that are difficult to talk about. You know, they can boost each other. And you see some lovely, there was a guy recently who put on Twitter that he was lonely, and all these people said, I'm here for you, and that was a wonderful thing. But equally, as you say, we see this hateful talk and the trolling, and you know, that I don't doubt at some point someone will say something about me for organising Kindfest that won't be very kind. And you're right, we by nature go, oh, ow, and concentrate on the bad. But I think the loud, kind voices, we can drown this out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think the more we use social media to talk about kindness, to talk about tolerance, to talk about anti-discrimination, we can generate the positive energy and combat it. And you know, people like Twitter also have a role to play in actually not tolerating hate talk and policing, you know, the sort of things that are said on Twitter and elsewhere a bit more strongly perhaps. But I hope people should, you know, it would be very sad if people who've got powerful things to say and important things to say didn't say them because they're afraid of being bullied online. And that's terrible. That would be tragic.
Exactly. And there are a lot of problems going on in the world with coronavirus and just social issues as well and mental health. But if you had to choose a problem that is kind of unsung and is not getting enough recognition, what do you think should be our focus right now? What do you think we should put more effort into solving? What problems do you think is kind of not got enough recognition?
Well, it does worry me that with our rightful focus on COVID, that we've stopped talking about climate catastrophe that we're all facing. And you know, if you think 2 years ago we were all thinking about Greta Thunberg and her work on climate change, and there were all the demonstrations of kids going out and saying on Fridays, Friday strike for climate. And because we're now in this pandemic, we've not focused on climate change. There needed to be a change in the US leadership in order for us to focus again on climate change. You know, Biden will follow the Paris Accords, and I think there'll be a focus on climate issues in the States now. And once we've got the energy and we've come through and in a better position with COVID, I hope all our energies can go into thinking about what on earth we're going to do to resolve the climate catastrophe we're facing. And again, I think, you know, I'm hopeful if we have a Kindfest 2021, there's going to have to be a strong emphasis on how you can be kind to the planet.
Yeah.
Because we all know we need to be kind to ourselves, kind to those people around us, but we need to be kind to this planet we're inhabiting.
Exactly. And this planet, I think people take for granted of it sometimes. It's 1 in a billion, not even that. It's perfect for life, and we're neglecting our own planet. And I think now coronavirus has really drowned out all of our problems. But if everyone focused to the guidelines and was keeping themselves 100% safe, then we would have time and that energy to focus on other problems, because there are a lot of things that we're struggling with at the moment, and this virus has really set us back many years. And it's just hopefully we can get over this soon enough as well. So yeah, thank you for answering that. Definitely some great points there. And I definitely think that climate change is definitely an issue that has to be solved sooner than later. But going on to my next question, what quote would you say that you try to live by every day? If it's one that you've made or one that someone else has said, what quote do you believe really hits you in your heart?
I think the question is not quite a quote, but it's the question that I mentioned earlier in the asking what's the kind thing to do. And I sometimes put that to other people as well. You know, if they don't know, they're in a, you know, in work situation, they don't know what to do. I'll say, well, what do you think is the kind thing to do right now? So that comes into my head. And sometimes when I'm not being very kind, I mean, you know, I can be
Yeah,
like all of us, I can have a day where actually my behavior isn't very kind for whatever reason. And it comes back into my head and I go, oh, come on, okay, what's the kind thing to do right now? The kind thing is to apologize and say, I'm really sorry, I shouldn't have behaved like that. Can I make it up to you? You know, actually check myself, and it helps guide me to behave in a kinder way.
yeah, definitely. And we all have those days when we're just not feeling 100%, or if we're just feeling a bit down. And you know, that does affect our mood against other people. And you know, it's definitely a normal thing to feel, but sometimes we just have to think exactly what you said. What's the kind of thing to do in this moment? And yeah, definitely a great quote or great question to try and live by and try to ask yourself quite regularly as well. So on to my next question. If someone's watching this interview and is not feeling they're 100% today, and it might be suffering from bullying or might be suffering from mental health at the moment, what would be your message to them?
I think sometimes hearing that it's okay not to feel okay is really important. We can't all feel happy every day. We can't all feel, we might feel very, very low. Um, but I hope for everyone when they're feeling that low, that there's somebody that is their go-to person. And if you don't feel like you've got a go-to person, then I hope there's loads of ways that you can find somebody. And, you know, I think young minds who we're partnering with Kindfest are extraordinary. There's an emergency text service, and you can just text and say, I'm not okay. Samaritans are extraordinary. I've called the Samaritans in the past in my life when I was feeling really desperate and low. So I'd say it's okay not to be okay, but try and find somebody who you can reach
Yeah.
out to, even if you have to do it by text or phone or email, because there are people there for you even when it doesn't feel like it.
Exactly. And I know you're you know, some people do have their very sad moments in life, and it will get better. And you know, the world is a very difficult place, and it's okay to feel down. And you know, it's just a normal thing in life, which isn't how it should be, but it just is. And yeah, definitely what you said, it will get better, and we'll just focus on the good things in life. So I know you're very busy, and I thank you so much for having this interview with me. So before we wrap it up, is there anything else that you would like to add?
I think we should encourage people to come to Kindfest because you're speaking, and that's a reason enough to come. And we've got loads of people like Nick who are speaking. We've got extraordinary artists who are singing as well. We've got some choirs, we've got a rap poet. You know, there's something for everybody. So it comes to Kindfest. All they have to do is go hashtag Kindfest2020 and they'll find us. Go to our website, teamkind.org.uk. If you can't come watch it on Friday, you get the recordings for a whole month, so you can catch up later. And also just be kind to yourself and be kind to those around you.
Yeah, definitely go watch Kindfest. It's got so many people that are kind, and they're uniting, and it's just going to be a lot of fun, and that's all we can do in these times as well.